Chapter 2. What that something has done for others. Nothing in this world is so powerful as an idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo. The time has come for the greatest idea in the world to take possession of your consciousness. It is a simple idea, but when you open up your mind and let it in, you'll never be the same again. Like TNT, it will rock the earth around you and beneath you. It will shake you to the foundations of your being. It will destroy old false concepts and replace them with new ones. It will eventually remove fear and worry from your life. It will release you from chronic nervous tensions, chase the butterflies out of your stomach, restore your self-confidence, give you a more positive attitude, and enable you to face things you've been running away from for years. All the great successful men and women in this world have made use of this idea. It has been the dominant idea in their lives. Without it, they could never have been great in their way or successful. What is this idea? It is the realization that what you picture in your mind, if you picture it clearly and confidently and persistently enough, will eventually come to pass in your life. That's it. Of course, there's a little more to it than that, but boiled down to the very essence, the wise men said it all when they said, "As a man thinketh in his mind and in his heart, so is he." Get it? As a man pictures in his mind and in his heart, so is he. When this idea first hit me, it knocked me down for the count. It was a real haymaker because I had been blaming the other fellow, circumstances beyond my control, for the mess I was in. I just knew that I hadn't been responsible for all the unhappy experiences I had undergone. Well, anyway, it helped me salve my many hurts to pretend that I hadn't been to blame. But deep down within, I think I had finally begun to realize that the way I thought and felt about things had some connection with what was happening to me. If I got up in the morning depressed and convinced it was going to be a bad day, it more often than not turned out to be a bad day. At first, I thought I was psychic, that I could tell in advance what was going to happen. It took a long time, and I took a lot of unnecessary punishment before it dawned on me that there is a universal law in the mental realm: like always attracts like, and that I had been creating what happened to me by wrong thinking. Looking around me, I saw happy men and women to whom happy things were happening. They got up in the morning expecting good things to come to them, and good things did. Sometimes these happy people had unhappy experiences, but I noticed that they didn't let these experiences get them down. They got up the next day expecting more good things to happen, and sure enough, more good things did happen. Before my awakening came, this always amazed me. I even resented it. Why should just a different mental attitude make such a difference? I didn't know then that there is a mighty force in the world which scientists call electromagnetism. I didn't know that everything in the universe is electromagnetic in nature, that the laws of attraction and repulsion operate electromagnetically, that when you assume a positive or negative attitude of mind, you get a positive or negative result, that there is no such thing as an accident in life, that everything happens in direct accordance with the laws of cause and effect. Listen and re-listen to the above paragraph. Let these facts soak in till you never forget them, because they have the power to change your life. Everything in the universe is electromagnetic in nature. The laws of attraction and repulsion operate electromagnetically. When you assume a positive or negative attitude of mind, you get a positive or negative result. There is no such thing as an accident in life. Everything happens in direct accordance with the laws of cause and effect. There is nothing new to what I'm telling you, except as it may be new to you. This same message has been written and delivered thousands of times. It runs throughout the Bible. You find it in the great fraternal orders. It led the three wise men. The Crusaders carried it. Every outstanding character of history has used it. Moses, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Shakespeare, Washington, Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, Edison, Dr. Steinmetz, Barnum, F.D. Roosevelt, and numberless others had a grasp of that something. The wisest men of all ages, the medicine men, religious leaders, great teachers, the Mayan priests, the yogis, the healers, the miracle men, all of them knew this secret. Some worked it one way, some another. They pictured in their minds and hearts what they wanted, and what they pictured eventually came true. Moses pictured leading his people to the promised land. Alexander the Great and Napoleon pictured great conquests. Shakespeare pictured the creation of his immortal writings. Washington pictured the winning of independence for the 13 colonies. Lincoln pictured the freeing of the slaves and the preservation of the Union. Benjamin Franklin pictured the capturing of lightning through a kite as a means of proving that electricity and lightning are the same force. Edison pictured the electric light, moving pictures, the phonograph, the electric train, and countless other great inventions. Steinmetz pictured new uses for electric power. Barnum pictured the greatest show on earth, a circus that would travel around the world by train. Roosevelt pictured leading his country out of its worst depression. These were great pictures by great and inspired men, and all these pictures, held resolutely in mind and converted into action, were brought to pass by faith and energy and vision and courage and steadfastness of each individual. These and many like them were just human beings like yourself. If they knew and could achieve, so can you. Halt, think, ponder. What made these people great? It was that they pictured themselves attaining. They dared to picture great achievement, and the power within, given these pictures to work on, finally brought them into being. You have to think big to be big. A small man is made up of small thoughts. He cannot remain small and think big. Reflect for a moment. Where did the steamboat, the locomotive, the automobile, the electric light, the sewing machine, the radio, the typewriter, and a million other objects and conveniences come from? All were thoughts or mental pictures in the minds of men before they became realities. Everything on this earth, except that which nature creates or has provided, is the result of a sustained thought of man. Take out of this world everything that has been created by thought alone, and you would have nothing left but the primitive jungle. This is the quickest, most graphic way to give you a comprehension of what the mind of man has done. When the real history of the evolution of mind is written, it will make the greatest, most thrilling story of all time, because it will cover all time and every phase of human experience. This story will tell how man required thousands upon thousands of years to emerge from the depths of ignorance, superstition, fear, prejudice, mythology, and wrong concepts. It will tell of great minds like Galileo, who believed with Copernicus that the earth moves around the sun, and was compelled by the Inquisition to take back his statements and was forbidden to publish his learned books. With what shame we look back upon such persecutions by the early church of men who dared pursue the truth despite existing doctrines and decrees. The history of the human mind will give honor to Charles Darwin, whose profound study of plants and animals led to his famous, world-shaking, The Origin of Species, in which he advanced the theory of evolution. To the credit of modern-day theology, God's handiwork in and through evolution is now being recognized by many religious sects. Time's majestic march through the ages has seen man's mind develop powers he little dreamed of in the early days of his residence on this earth. Proof that man is more than animal. The fact that the creature man has been able to survive all these centuries in the struggle against all forms of life, and in spite of the inhumanities of his fellow man, is proof that he possesses superior powers within. Man is a veritable God in the making, although he reveals, still too often, devilish tendencies. It is that inner power which man possesses, beyond and apart from any other living creature on this earth, which has made it possible for him to advance to his present state of development and awareness. The power within has lifted man above all other animals. While there are probably higher intelligences on other planets and in higher realms of being, it is now evident that man has unlimited potentialities for further development within him. He is just in the kindergarten of his opportunities for unfoldment and achievement, once he learns how to live peacefully and cooperatively with his fellow man. He is in the midst of learning this painful lesson now, but I have faith he is going to learn it. I have faith in this vast inner power, greater than man, of which man is becoming more and more conscious. That's something which can and will eventually free man from his fears and hates and prejudices, and give him such understanding of his own self that he will, in turn, be able to understand others. You always know when a man or woman is using the power within in his or her life. Such people walk in the consciousness of this power which is in and behind their every thought and act. They are poised, self-assured, courageous, uninhibited, and magnetic in expression. They know where they are going and how to get there. They have pictured their future and are moving with resoluteness and conviction into that future. There is a spirit about them which is contagious. They tend to carry you along with them, to spur you on to greater efforts in your own behalf. These people are the planners and the doers of the world. The great mass of unthinking human beings follow in their wake. Do you lead the pack, or are you one of the pack? If you are a follower of others, you have not yet discovered that something within you. To be a leader, to be able to step out ahead of the pack in your line of work or human interest or expression, you must know how to draw upon the power within. It is absolutely essential. You cannot be anything without it. The law of attraction will only bring to you what you picture. The creative power within must be magnetized by what you visualize for it to do. Picture, picture, picture. This is the simple command which leads to attainment. But be sure you are picturing what you really want and not developing pictures of fear and worry which will cause that inner power to create for you what you don't want. If Edison, when he was trying to invent the electric light, had pictured failure instead of success, he would never have made 10,000 experiments before he developed the filament which would carry the electric current and produce light. Think of it. Edison failed 9,999 times before he succeeded once. But each failure taught him what would not work, and through the laborious process of elimination, finally led him to the discovery of something that would work. How long could you persist in the face of such colossal failure? Edison is credited with saying, "Success is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration." When you know you are working with the power within, as Edison did, your faith will never falter. You will continue the struggle against all obstacles and seeming setbacks in the unshakable conviction that you will eventually succeed. Sometimes, failure to attain a certain goal has led unexpectedly and even more rewardingly to another. Consider the famous case of Columbus. His studies convinced him that the world is round, and he believed that by sailing westward he could reach Cathay and the Indies. It took him 5 years before he was able to get the ships necessary for such a journey. Even then, his crew was so doubtful of his ideas that they mutinied and almost turned back. Still Columbus never lost faith. The power within him kept him going, and when he finally sighted some islands, he called them the West Indies. Even after making 3 more trips to America, Columbus died without realizing he had discovered a new world. History, however, does not record Columbus as a failure. No good effort is ever lost. What you picture must come to pass if you picture it long enough, clearly enough, and confidently enough. I am going to repeat many of these statements again and again in different ways because I want them to be indelibly impressed upon your consciousness. The successful men and women of the world never lose sight of their pictures. They keep on reminding their creative power of what they desire in life so that it will keep on attracting everything they need to materialize what they have pictured. An example of picture power. Irma and Farley O'Brien are a young couple now living in North Hollywood, California, in quote-unquote the home of their dreams. It is just the home that they pictured, which they testify came to them as a direct result of visualization. For months they had tried to find the right home, had looked in many sections, and had enlisted the aid of many real estate agents. They had seen a number of attractive houses and yards, but none possessed that indescribable appeal, that heartwarming something they were seeking in a place they would wish to buy. Finally, despairing of finding what they wanted by the routine methods, Irma and Farley decided to stop searching. They had learned of a new way to attract to them what they desired, a magical way. All they had to do was sit quietly and picture together the exact house that they wanted, in the faith that this home existed somewhere and already belonged to them. Irma drew out the floor plans for the house. She visualized the surrounding landscape, the garden, the flowers, the patio, everything. Farley and she discussed these plans, agreed upon them, became enthused over them. They had little money to invest in such a home, but they had faith that the resources would also be made available if they pictured what they desired strongly enough and clearly enough, and put forth every effort in the direction of their objective. Irma said to Farley, "I don't just want a house, I want a home that has been built by a couple who loved it, as we will love it the instant we see it. I want a place that has the atmosphere of love in it and around it. I want to feel this love in every room, in the garden, among the flowers. Do you suppose there's such a place?" "I'm sure there is," said Farley. "There has to be, or you couldn't feel about it as you do." And so each night, before retiring, Irma and Farley pictured themselves being led to such a home, wherever it might be. They dropped off to sleep, dreaming of this home, with the expectation of being led to it when the time and conditions were right. They let go of all previous apprehensions that they would not find what they desired. Somehow, some way, they knew that what they were picturing would materialize for them. One day, some weeks later, Irma and Farley were at a friend's house, and Irma felt impelled to tell this friend of their dream. The friend listened with interest and then said, "You have just described the home of a friend of mine, a man by the name of Mr. Davies, whose wife died a few months ago, shortly after their dream home was completed. Mr. Davies is still living in the home. He has been offered twice what it cost him, but he says that he won't sell until he finds a couple who will love this home as much as his wife and he did. Please take us to this man. Irma and Farley requested. When they arrived outside the home in North Hollywood, they stopped and stared, unbelievingly. "This is it," they both cried, even before they had stepped across the threshold. The house, the yard, the garden, the flowers, the patio, their picture had come to life. And when they met Mr. Davies at the door, the love of this home was in their eyes, and he saw it, and said to them, "I see that you like this place already. Just make yourselves at home. I won't go with you. Take your time. Go wherever you wish. When you've finished, I'll be waiting." For an hour Irma and Farley lost themselves in their breathless examination of the beautiful premises. It seemed to them as though they had already moved in, as though they had been living in this home of their dreams, as perhaps they had, in the higher mental sense. But now it was time to face reality. It was obvious that this home would cost far more than they could pay, that any down payment would be in excess of their entire resources. "What shall we do?" Irma said to Farley. "We've found the home that we pictured, but how can it be ours?" "Our faith has taken us this far," said Farley. "Let's not doubt that it can take us the rest of the way." They were out in the backyard, and now they turned to enter the house. As they did so, Mr. Davies opened the door. He stood quietly, eyeing them. "Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful!" they exclaimed. "Just what we've been wanting. But it appears to be beyond our means." "Perhaps it may not be," said Mr. Davies. "I have been requesting a large down payment of people to whom I am not interested in selling. But you love this home as my wife and I did. Somehow I can feel that she would never forgive me if I sold our beautiful home to a couple who did not share our deep feeling for it. You folks know what you can pay. Make your own terms." A deal was arranged, and the O'Briens left with the assurance that the home of their dreams would now become their real-life home. Even so, the down payment would take all their available finances, with no resources in sight to complete the purchase. "Have we let our feelings run away with us?" Irma questioned. "Should we have assumed this big obligation?" "Everything has worked out so perfectly," said Farley. "I have faith it will keep on working out this way." And it did. Today, their lovely home is bought and paid for. That power within always works when you have learned how to utilize it. It works in ways you cannot possibly imagine when you place your faith in it and do what you feel is right to do in any situation. In the case of Irma and Farley, like had attracted like. They had been picturing the kind of home Mr. Davies owned, and he had been picturing selling this home to the kind of couple they were. Such visualizing had drawn them magnetically together through the medium of the friend to whom Irma felt impelled to confess her desire for the home of her dreams. The channels through which you may reach your goal are always provided in much the same manner by the power within, when you have pictured what you want clearly and confidently and persistently with faith that what you picture can and will be attained. All that is good and right for you in life can be drawn to you by right thinking. What that something has done for others, it can just as easily do for you. Positive thoughts attract. Negative thoughts repel. Check your thinking. Do you believe what has been told to you thus far? Does it begin to ring a bell? Can you look back on your life and see how you have attracted good things to you by positive thinking and bad things by negative thinking? If you can, then you are ready to learn what this creative power can do for you.